Yeah, wishes Stephanie. I'm back at the red door. Hey, it's been a while. I just wanted to give a quick update and talk a tiny bit about Duolingo's new Chinese language app. So, here goes. Yeah, I'm hoping that this video will serve as a reset and a restart and a rethink. We came back from Germany a week and 2 days ago, or I should say Europe, because most of the time was in Spain, and then we spent a little bit of time in Germany. And I was on vacation for a month, and I was able to keep going with the reading book that I was having, that I've been working on. Oh, see, I almost put that completely in past tense, which I think is telling. Yeah, I was working on that for a number of weeks. I want to say about 2 weeks in at least, if not 2.5. And then I'm not exactly sure there were a number of combinations that came into play, and I lost motivation. And then I got sick, and I was sick as a dog with just a head cold, but man, it was one of those head colds that just knocked me out for part of Berlin, and then I only had 3 days, 2.5 days, something like that, to actually see parts of Berlin. So I, of course, put all my efforts into that because I wanted to see it. And then I really didn't study for those days. And then we came back to China and back to work, and there was a lot of re-entry pain in that experience. So here I am, now 2 weeks of pretty much not touching anything. I did tear apart part of the book to bring with me, but that didn't work. There's something about having the entire book with me and being able to go back and forth within the chapters. Even though I don't necessarily do that much, there's something about being able to do that. So the one thing I have done in the past week after being back in Shanghai is I went to the bookstore and I bought another copy of the book that doesn't have a torn out bit on it. So for some reason, once I get my momentum back, I do want to tear out chapters or pages, I can do that from the old book and still have the fresh whole book. So I have two versions of the book now, so hopefully that will help with any excuses that I come up with. Yeah, so I'm still about to start chapter 3. I don't even know the theme of chapter 3. Well, not a theme. Again, each sentence in the book, each chapter revolves around a sentence. You can see this sentence here. This is from chapter 3. And they all are sentences in order from a biography of a person. I haven't read the whole thing. They do have an English translation, but I don't want to really get ahead of myself, so I'm only reading them as they appear in the chapters. I do want to speed up and do one chapter a week because I was taking like 2 or 3 weeks and trying to cement them too much, and that is something that I definitely noticed while I was on vacation. Is I felt like I was going too slow and I was losing momentum that way. So I wanted to speed up and do them one chapter a week. When that reset keeps changing from day to day, a lot of life stuff keeps happening, and I need to get back on the wagon. So I'm hoping this video serves as a reset of sorts because I want to get back on track. It was kind of nice to have a break for a while, but I need to start again. Oh, excuse me, sorry. I haven't had coffee yet. The other thing is I mentioned in my last video, I scheduled my first italki lesson, and my jet lag took over my brain that day. Sorry, there's a fly. Did you see that? Anyway, it took over that day and I could barely make it to 6 p.m. without falling asleep. So I had to reschedule, and he was gracious enough to do that. So tomorrow night should be that one. I'm terrified. I may very well postpone it again. I have a strange feeling I might have to do spontaneous lessons that I will start just after, just after my own self-study sessions. I think that might be a less terrifying way to do it. That way I've got some language in my brain and I've got questions that I need answered, and then I just press like find a person and start talking. Then I think that might be a better way for me to go, but this tutor was gracious enough to transfer I rescheduled my lesson at the last minute, like literally 2 hours before, not the last minute, but 2 hours before the lesson. So I want to go through with that lesson. And he seems like a really good person and a good linguistic person and all that kind of stuff. So I want to try that out. I want to try out a scheduled lesson. Although knowing that with my schedule, my work schedule and my study brain, that may not very well work well for me. So we'll see how that goes. Either way, I do want to, the two changes I want to make with the reading book, and this is just part of the reading book, this is one chapter, is I want to do one lesson a week. It's still going to take me, I've only done 2 lessons, so that's 22 weeks, which is still a long time. But that's a lot of reading. So I think so that's the one change. The second change is to add italki lessons to kind of humanize the lessons and to also get me some kind of emergency language that I haven't focused on before. Like, could you repeat that? How do you say that? Maybe what tone is that? I don't know if I want to ask that question ever. But, or what is that, or like those kinds of questions that help you navigate the language when you don't know a bit of it, but you know some of it, and you're talking to someone and you want to, sorry, I think I still have part of my cold. Anyway, those kinds of sentences that help you maneuver the language within the language. I have not been focusing on those because reading has been my main part, but because I've slowed down on the reading, I think adding a slightly vocal component to it might help me out. So I'm going to try to include those two things. One lesson a week and adding a person to it. Maybe multiple people. I kind of like the idea of doing the spontaneous lessons and getting different people. That way, the things that I think that I've got the right sounds of vocally, if people can... That was so cheating. Did you hear that knock at the door? That was my delivery. Oh yeah, I got coffee delivery. I got some other stuff too, but yeah. It's a long story, but I'm supposed to be downsizing my coffee. So it's extra special. Twice a week is what I'm down to. Caffeine headaches are real, y'all. Okay. Man, is my day gonna get better. So, what was I saying? What the hell was I saying? Humanizing the lessons. Yes. So I didn't think I'd want to speak this soon. I thought I would get through the entire book before I would do that, but I think... Oh, I know. I think that speaking would help me keep going with this, and it will ease me into the full language, not just the reading part, which I was quite comfortable to stay in for quite some time, but for some reason I think it was the speaking, albeit in short form and very, very bad form in Spain, I think may have ignited that need in me. So there's that. But what I was saying before my delivery came was that I think talking to different people and testing out the language that I've learned on different people would help me know if I was saying it in a way that was understood. And I think that's pretty important, especially with a place like China that's so huge and has so many different accents and dialects and things, that I think if I talk to different people from different parts of China, or whether they're still there or not, I think will give me a gauge whether I'm basically understood. I don't want to use the language in reading form or in spoken form in any one place. You know me, I move around and I talk to people from different areas. And so I want to be able to maneuver, if I do start the speaking part, I do want to be able to speak to people from varying places, from different places. And I do want to read text from different places. Yes, I know these are all very big goals. If you don't have goals, what do you do? So I'm not very, I can break down big goals, but I'm really, really bad at having really goals that are super easy to what's the word? Wait, let me get my brain fuel. You'd think this is product placement, but it's not. I just really, really like their macchiatos. Anyway, unlike Spain, where macchiatos were they call them espresso macchiatos. Latte macchiatos were the giant ones, which are like lattes with espresso. Way too much milk, way too much of everything. But espresso macchiato is mostly espresso with a tiny bit of foam milk on it. It's the perfect combination. Anyway, 99% of the places in Spain would do that perfectly. There's only one place in Shanghai that I found that would do it. And they warn me every time I get it. And they say, it is small. And I'm like, good, that's how macchiato should be. And they look at me like, heh, okay. Anyway, my point is that this is my reset. I'm going to start studying today. I could start studying now, but I also need to start cleaning. And it's freezing, so I have to start cleaning so that I warm up because I'm like an icicle. Even though it's only 10 degrees. Mediterranean blood sucks. It sucks in winter. Anyway, I'm really veering off of my point. I think you've gotten my point. I need to reset. I need pressure from you to get back on the wagon. I think that's the wrong phrase. To get back on track. There we go. To get back on track. Getting on the wagon, I think, is a negative thing. I've never understood that idiom. Native speaker. Ha! I need to start studying. I want to start studying. The Hansa started calling to me out in the wild 2 days ago. And, yeah. Oh my god, I forgot to talk about Duolingo. Okay. Duolingo now has Chinese. I think it's been about 3 days, 4 days. Ooh, look at that lighting. Ooh. Okay, I've officially missed making videos. They do. They have Chinese now. It's super duper new. This could also be one of the reasons. No, I think I decided to do the italki and the speaking before then. Anyway, I'm trying to focus because you know how in the first few months I was using tons of apps and experimenting because I wanted to build an app. One, I haven't even done my algorithm. Two, I haven't coded in, next month will be a year, which is depressing. And three, I don't think there is a three. Anyway, the Duolingo, sorry, I have a very specific app that I want to make. I think I might need to find a partner to make it instead of doing the coding myself. And that's not embarrassing, but I like pretending I'm independent and do things by myself. Clearly, this is the year to admit that that is not true. So I need to get on that because the more I experience Shanghai, the more I realize that this app would be used here by the audience that I think it would be used for. It's not audience, by the market, by the people, by the population that would use it. Anyway, Duolingo. They are teaching the Hansa characters, the pinyin and the tones all at once. They're not specifically talking about the tones, but the audio has the tones in them. So they're doing everything at once, which is what I started to do and realized I couldn't do, and then I started to layer up, and those are in many previous videos, especially in the first few months. But they're doing it all at once. They're using their Duolingo approach of making you do things repeatedly without explaining them and kind of figuring them out. So that kind of puzzling, not puzzling like questioning, but puzzling like putting things together and noticing trends. They're using that approach that they did with the other languages that they did first, the other European languages that they did first. They're doing that with Chinese. And at first I was skeptical. And I still am only on level 3 and just kind of doing it here and there. I'm not focusing on it. I'm doing that more for the app research than I am for the Chinese language learning. But it is a good review on the Chinese learning. The audio is a bit muffled sometimes, so that is one complaint that I have. I'm confused why they have that. It's such a popular app at this point that one would think they would have the resources to have crisp audio, but they don't. And that's very confusing to me, and I should probably pause and get an example for you, but it's a free app, so feel free to go and do it. And it feels like, judging from the views plummeting while I went to Europe and started talking about European languages, I'm guessing you guys are interested in Chinese, so by all means, go to Duolingo, download the free app, and test it out for a bit. The first few they have it in themes, and the first few themes are like greetings, numbers, names. Those would be good to do if you're interested in starting Chinese. So by all means do that. So the sound is a bit off. I do like their approach on making you kind of think your way through and noticing trends and doing it that way instead of explicitly teaching grammar. That's always been an approach that I personally learn better from. Grammar charts I like to kind of make backwards from examples instead of having the charts and then trying to memorize them. I know people learn different ways, but I learn much better from noticing the trends myself. I think I just scratched myself silly. Okay. I'm delirious. I'm not very good when the weather switches to winter. The lack of sunlight and all that kind of stuff. Yes, I take vitamin D all year. But yeah, I'm not good with that. So that's the one complaint I have about Duolingo is the sound. I like their approach. I'm not sure doing the sounds, the pinyin, and the characters at the same time is a very good idea. Now, having said that, the anecdote that I have, and I hope he doesn't mind me using this, is my husband is loving this. He's saying that he hasn't really been, he's been good at names, street names, city names, that kind of thing. He's very good at noticing patterns within that and reading those things, but he hasn't studied it. He just notices them as he's going to these places, and that's the only Chinese he's really learned. And he is already using some of the phrases he's learned in the Duolingo app to like order coffees and stuff, which I'm not even sure how he got that from it, but he's a bit ahead of me. He's on level 6 at this point. So he said that it's helping him maneuver in China. So touche. But I think we are slightly different language learners, and I'm not exactly sure how at this point, but I don't want to share his story because this channel's supposed to be mine. But I just wanted to say that we're both more positive about it than I thought we would be. Like, I didn't think their approach to language teaching via an app would work going straight over into Chinese. I thought they needed extra few layers before that. And they probably do, and I'll probably be able to give you a more succinct review of them, of what they could do instead, of what's missing and all that kind of good stuff once I get further into it. Right now, it's just been a little bit, and although there are stumbling blocks and I think things that are missing and things that are not great, like the audio, in general, I think it's still really helpful, and I think it's still really approachable, which a lot of Chinese language resources are not. A lot of them pile on the things that the Duolingo is piling on, but in a way that makes you stop quickly, and this doesn't make me stop quickly. And there's things that are review for me, even at level 3, but there's things that are not. So there's still enough that, like, they're doing sentences at the beginning, full-on sentences, which is awesome. I think that's probably what I should have done from the beginning. Having said that, I've been saying 5 months for a while, so I'm probably at 6 months. I'm not going to count it. I don't care. But I think I probably should have started with full sentences at the beginning. I think knowing what I know now about my language learning likings, I am probably that person that needs entire context from the beginning. So I'm glad they do that, especially for a language that's as challenging as Chinese, visually and otherwise. I think being able to say full exchanges from the beginning and read them and understand them and move words around at the beginning without the spacing. Spacing still kills me in Hansa characters. Not having spacing between words is very challenging for me, and I think if I had seen that from the beginning, gotten used to it from the beginning, maybe that would make it easier. I don't know. So far, I'm more on the positive side on the app, and I didn't expect that to happen. I really expected to go, this is crap, and go, man, so much room for me to make my app. But the ones I want to make are not Chinese as a whole, or Chinese level 1, or Chinese level 2, or that kind of thing. The stuff I want to make is very functional, in China, kind of learn this bit of the language, or maybe enter learning to read Chinese through this specific function. I think that's the best way to look at it. So we're in totally different markets as far as I'm concerned. well, actually, they're in the market, and I'm dreaming of entering the market at some point in this century. That's a better way to look at it. So it's very interesting. If you're interested in learning Chinese and you haven't started yet, I recommend trying the Duolingo app. It's not going to give you an insight into the components of the characters, but you could use the Pleco app, Pleco, you could use the Pleco app with Duolingo and maybe do it that way. Sure, why not? Because the definitions and the things within Duolingo are not really going to give you the building blocks. But depending on what your goal is with Chinese, you may not need the building blocks. I did that because that was where my interest was, and I wanted to go with what motivated me and what interested me. And whatever time I lost in investigating the radicals or playing with the stroke order, I don't consider that really wasted. I consider that very, very interesting. So be it. I spent 5 more months not being able to communicate or read in the language. So what? It's adding on a layer, as I'm doing the sentences in Duolingo and in the reading book, it's adding on a layer of things that kind of keeps my brain busy when I'm doing things that are very obvious. Like when I'm reading, he is a student, I'm kind of playing with the components of the characters in the back of my brain and breaking them down and reminding myself of interesting things within them that I found out along the way. So, and I know that sounds like I'm justifying the time that I've spent not communicating with the language, and maybe it is, but for the first time in my life, playing with the components of the language was fun for me. And having spent way too much time in, not way too much, but spending enough time in linguistically circles without finding that fun, I found it interesting to be in a situation where it was fun. So there you have it. Anyway, okay, so this is my really far too long 22-minute update on everything that's happening. I felt really depressed about the 2 weeks of nothing and all that kind of stuff before starting this video, and after the coffee and talking to you guys, even if it is at this point a one-way conversation. Sorry, that was meant to be a continuation, not a bad gesture. That came out totally wrong. I feel much better now, so thank you for listening to my confessional. I just watched the latest Walking Dead episode where Negan did a confession, which was kind of not very telling. So maybe I was inspired to make my confession. Yeah, so anyway, sorry. It's my point in these videos to bring out as many things as possible that have nothing to do with language learning, to tie life into language learning, because let's face it, language learning is to connect to more life via language. It all comes together. It does. Okay, so that's it. I gotta stop now before I connect any more random things. I hope to get more videos going as I get more used to winter and life back in China and my hectic travel schedule again. Because December, like August, is a rather crazy month. Although only 3 weeks instead of 4, and then we've got the holidays and my birthday where I get even older. Oh dear. Okay, so thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me through the past probably 6 weeks while it's just been terribly irregular. I'm going to get on track, and I think once I get used to italki and used to the awkwardness of trying to speak in the language and how incredibly bad I am at it, that I think that will motivate me, because talking to people in the language and about the language really, really motivates me. So I think once I get on that track, I think that's really going to propel me to the next level of what I'm doing, and being able to get through a chapter a week for a couple of weeks will really, really push me to keep going. I love this book. The lack of motivation in this reading book, the rapid literacy in Chinese by Zheng Pengpeng is excellent and motivating and really, really illuminating. It has nothing, my motivation issues has nothing to do with the book. It has everything to do with me and with life. And life interferes with language learning sometimes, which is ironic. But anyway, I promised that was the end, so I'm going to make this the end. Thank you for sticking with me. Stay tuned for more exciting stuff coming up in the next few weeks. 再见，谢谢你，bye.